I still remember the exact moment everything changed. It wasn't the kiss. It wasn't the engagement ring sparkling on his fiancée's finger. It wasn't even the day I realized I loved him. It was the night I found him sitting alone in the dark kitchen of the mansion where I worked, his head buried in his hands, looking more broken than any man with millions of dollars had a right to look. People think money protects you from pain. They're wrong. I knew because I cleaned up after pain every day. My name is Elena. And for 3 years I worked as a maid in one of the largest homes in Connecticut. The owner was Daniel Hart, a successful businessman. Respected in every room he entered. Admired by everyone who knew his name. To the world, he had everything. A thriving company. A beautiful home. And a stunning fiancée named Victoria. From the outside, their lives looked perfect. Mine certainly didn't. At 28, I was working 2 jobs to help support my mother after a stroke. Every paycheck mattered. Every hour mattered. I cleaned floors, washed windows, changed sheets, and tried not to think about the dreams I'd buried years earlier. Daniel and I lived in completely different worlds. Most days, our interactions lasted less than a minute. Good morning, Elena. Good morning, Mr. Hart. That was it. But unlike many wealthy people I'd worked for, Daniel never treated me like I was invisible. He remembered my name. He asked how my mother was doing. He thanked me when I worked late. Small things. Yet those small things mattered more than he probably realized. One winter afternoon, I arrived at work with red eyes after spending the entire night at the hospital. My mother's condition had worsened. I thought nobody noticed. But Daniel did. He stopped me in the hallway. "Are you okay?" The question caught me off guard. I forced a smile. "I'm fine." He studied me for a moment. Then he handed me an envelope. "Take the day off." I immediately shook my head. "I can't afford. That's not a request." I opened the envelope later. Inside was enough money to cover my mother's medications for 3 months. I cried in the hospital parking lot. Not because of the money. Because someone cared. From that day on, something shifted inside me. I admired him. Then I respected him. And eventually, despite knowing how foolish it was, I fell in love with him. It was the kind of love you never speak aloud. The impossible kind. The kind you lock away and carry silently. Especially when the man you love is engaged to someone else. Victoria was everything I wasn't. Elegant. Confident. Beautiful. She wore dresses that cost more than my monthly rent. Whenever she visited, the house transformed into a stage for her perfection. At least, that's what everyone else saw. What they didn't see was how cold she could be. She rarely acknowledged staff. She complained constantly. And whenever Daniel wasn't looking, her smile disappeared. At first I thought I was imagining it. Then one evening I overheard an argument. I had been cleaning the upstairs hallway when their voices drifted from Daniel's office. "I don't understand why you care so much about those employees," Victoria snapped. "They're people," Daniel replied. "They work for us. They work with us." The silence that followed felt heavy. Then Victoria laughed. A sharp, humorless sound. "Sometimes I think you're too soft." I quietly walked away before hearing more. But the conversation stayed with me. Months passed. The wedding date approached. And despite my feelings, I tried to be happy for him. Because real love isn't about possession. It's about wanting someone else's happiness. Even when it breaks your heart. Then everything changed. One rainy evening, Daniel's younger sister, Emma, was involved in a serious car accident. The family rushed to the hospital. So did I. Not because anyone asked me to. Because I knew Daniel would need support. Emma survived, but complications kept her in intensive care for days. During that time, I saw a side of Daniel nobody else ever witnessed. The confident businessman disappeared. The strong leader vanished. All that remained was a terrified brother. I spent hours bringing coffee to family members, helping organize meals, and sitting quietly whenever someone needed company. I wasn't family. I wasn't even a friend. But kindness doesn't require a title. On the third night, Daniel found me asleep in a hospital chair. "You should go home," he said softly. "So should you." He smiled for the first time in days. Probably. Neither of us moved. For a long moment, we simply sat there in exhausted silence. Then he said something unexpected. "I don't know what we'd have done without you." My throat tightened. "Anyone would help." "No," he said. "Not everyone would." His words stayed with me. A week later, Emma recovered enough to return home. Everyone celebrated. Everyone except Victoria. During the welcome home dinner, she spent most of the evening complaining that the accident had delayed wedding planning. I watched Daniel's face. For the first time, I saw disappointment there. Not anger. Not frustration. Just sadness. The kind that comes when someone finally sees a truth they've been avoiding. 2 months later, the engagement ended. The news shocked everyone, including me. I learned about it accidentally when I arrived for work and noticed Daniel sitting alone on the back porch. The ring was gone. So was the smile he usually wore. I wanted to ask what happened. Instead, I quietly brought him coffee. He accepted it with a grateful nod. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Life slowly settled into a new rhythm. Without Victoria around, the house felt different. Lighter. Warmer. Daniel seemed more relaxed. And somehow, our conversations became longer. We talked about books, movies, family, dreams. For the first time, he wasn't just my employer. He was becoming my friend. That friendship terrified me. Because the closer we became, the harder it was to hide how I felt. Then came the night everything changed. A severe snowstorm knocked out power across the neighborhood. Most staff members left early. I stayed behind to help secure the house. Hours later, the storm worsened. The roads became dangerous. Daniel insisted I remain until morning. We sat near the fireplace, wrapped in blankets while snow battered the windows. The entire house felt strangely peaceful. Like the world outside had disappeared. We talked for hours. Really talked. About fear. Regret. Loss. Hope. At some point, the conversation turned personal. "Why did you never chase your own dreams?" he asked. I stared into the fire. Because life got in the way. That's not an answer. I laughed softly. My mother needed me. And what about what you needed? Nobody had ever asked me that before. The question alone nearly broke me. Tears filled my eyes. I quickly looked away. But Daniel noticed. He always noticed. "You spend your whole life taking care of everyone else," he said quietly. "Someone has to." "No." His voice was gentle. "You deserve care too." The room suddenly felt very small.